iTake On Dingo has always stood out to me as a pretty memorable episode of iCarly. For some reason, I had a false memory of this episode being a 45-minute long special, probably because so much happens in it, but it's actually just a normal length episode. And fun fact, this episode is actually written by Jake Farrow, the same guy who played Gavin on Drake and Josh. And let me tell you, Gavin popped off with this one. The plot involves Carly, Sam, and Freddie beefing with the writers of the Dingo channel for copying all of their funny ideas. Dingo is clearly meant to represent the Disney Channel, and honestly, it was pretty ballsy for Dirty Dan to make an entire episode calling Disney out like this. The jokes and the shade are pretty brutal. It's one of my personal favorite episodes for being so hilarious. But let's not forget that Dan Schneider also produced Zoe 101, a show starring an upbeat blonde girl whose bushy-haired friend is madly in love with her, which kind of reminds me of the Lizzie McGuire show. You know, a show about, an upbeat blonde-haired girl whose bushy-haired friend is secretly in love with her. And considering that Lizzie McGuire came out in 2001 and Zoe 101 didn't come out till 2005, maybe Dan ought to remember that when you point one finger at someone, you got four fingers pointing right back at yourself, eh? But if we're being honest, Nickelodeon does have some valid complaints to make here too. It's probably fair to say that Disney and Nick have both ripped each other off plenty of times. And I kinda love that the jokes in iTake On Dingo do not hold back. It basically makes fun of Disney Channel for being dirty plagiarists with no original ideas for the entire length of the episode. And what's even more hilarious is that Disney's response to this call out 7 years later was to rip off iCarly even more blatantly by creating a show called Bizarrevark about two best friends who make videos together for their online comedy channel.
I'm Carly. I'm Sam. We have a special request for you. Hey guys, I'm Frankie. I'm Paige, and we have a favor to ask.
Clearly, there's a lot of beef here, and for good reason. And since iTake On Dingo premiered all the way back in 2009, the very same year that Jersey Shore first premiered on MTV, it's definitely time to take a look back at this iconic episode and see if it was a direct hit to Disney's cock and balls, or if it was a complete misfire. And as always, if you like this video, please be sure to throw us a like and maybe even subscribe. I'll swim naked in a public pool if you do. And if you have any other episodes or shows you want me to cover, let me know in the comments. All right, let's dive in. We start off with Carly and Sam in the middle of an iCarly broadcast, and they're reading a question from a fan who said, "My parents got me controllers and no game station. How can I play a game with just controllers?" And the live studio audience is getting a little too enthusiastic.
Let's show Robert how. Well, okay.
They didn't even do anything yet. What is the crowd wooing for? Carly and Sam then proceed to smash 20 perfectly good eggs with a couple of PS2 controllers. Look, eggs are so expensive, and that is a huge waste of food. They looked like real eggs to me. Couldn't someone have eaten those? The next segment on the web show is Messin' with Lubert. This week, Spencer built a fake soda machine, put it out in the apartment building, and hid inside of it. As soon as Lubert pulls up and uses it, Spencer reaches out and grabs Lubert by the neck, slamming his skull against the vending machine, causing irreversible damage. And this is no prank. This is a clear assault, and the police need to be called immediately. Over at school, Sam's yapping to Freddie about a genius idea for an iCarly skit.
My brilliant idea for iCarly?
What?
Bikini dog food fight.
And I was about to get really mad at Dan Schneider for this one, but then I let the clip play out.
What's a bikini dog food fight?
We get Gibby and some other guy, make them put on bikinis and fight with dog food.
And that's actually pretty funny. Some random girls from school then approach Freddie and Sam to tell them that Totally Terry on the Dingo channel completely ripped off iCarly's random dancing segment. And Totally Terry was actually a reference to the original title that they were going to use for the Zoe 101 series, Totally Zoe. Freddie and Sam aren't impressed, and Gibby steps in to lighten the mood.
No fighting, no dog food, but I will wear the bikini top.
Later at Carly's apartment, Sam and Carly are watching Totally Terry on the Dingo channel when Spencer comes in and asks what they're up to. They explain everything and he starts yapping about the Dingo channel keeping the frozen head of their creator in the bowels of the building. The girls' attention is then drawn back to Totally Terry when the show starts straight up ripping off the exact same messing with Lubert sketch from the beginning of the episode.
Watch what happens when Rupert tries to buy something out of that snack machine.
2 hands just popped out of that snack machine.
That quickly? Are you telling me that Totally Terry is literally filmed the same day it airs, South Park style? That makes no sense. Freddy then breaks into Carly's apartment and they all confirm that they saw what just happened on Totally Terry. The group then convinces Spencer to drive them over 900 miles to Hollywood so they can go to Dingo Studios and confront the Totally Terry writers. And they convince Spencer to take them there by saying he can go search for Charles Dingo's head while Carly and Sam are busy confronting the writers of Totally Terry. Alright, it's a school night. If it wasn't, they'd be doing iCarly. So how is Freddy's mom okay with this in any capacity? Miss Benson wouldn't let this slide. Once the gang arrives in Hollywood, guess we don't get to see Miss Benson's reaction. Whatever. They find that the hotel Sam's mom recommended is an actual crime scene. There's even a homeless man living outside their window.
Can I borrow some underwear? No!
Close it, close it, close it, close it, close it.
And I love that Spencer just shuts the damn blinds and doesn't even actually close the window on him.
This is the nice hotel your mom recommended?
This is where she stays when she comes to town.
Why would the group ask Sam's mom for a hotel recommendation, knowing that she's usually grimy as hell? Also, Spencer's jacket switches which arm he has it draped over. Just pointing that one out. After everyone settles into the hotel, Freddy hands out laminated fake Dingo ID cards that he whipped up for everyone. And he even acquired blueprints of the entire Dingo headquarters. And let me just say, Freddy is walking a fine line here. Fake Dingo IDs today, fake government passports, and social security cards tomorrow. Spencer then confirms that the blueprints actually show the underground tunnels of Dingo headquarters, and Carly scoffs, claiming that Charles Dingo's head is not in the underground tunnels of Dingo. But Sam, Spencer, and even the homeless man all believe it to be true. Carly then shouts, "Next person that says bowels is sleeping in the bathtub," and the homeless man sees an opportunity.
Next person who says Val sleeps in the bathtub.
Bowels! I got the bathtub!
No.
Is there really no window to shut? Do they only have blinds as protection? That's so upsetting. Look, honestly, Carly and Spencer are doing well for themselves. They live in a penthouse apartment, and Carly's web show is extremely successful. So they should be able to just go pay for a nicer hotel. They shouldn't have to stay here. I don't get why they act like this is their only option just because Sam's mom recommended it, but whatever. Over at the Dingo headquarters, the gang gets in without any issue at all, and they make it to the Totally Terry writer's room. Spencer and Freddy head off to find Charles Dingo's head deep in the bowels of Dingo, while Carly and Sam head in to strong-arm the writers. And this is the first ever appearance of Sam's iconic butter sock. Which, fun fact, it was originally going to be full of coins, but Nickelodeon thought that was a bad influence on kids and changed the coins to butter. They bust into the writer's room while the writers are slacking off doing fuck all. And honestly, I think it's a funny detail that the Totally Terry writer's room is entirely made up of males, because Dan Schneider infamously hated working with women in the writer's room. Sam and Carly confront the writers for stealing their ideas, and one of the writers basically tells them to go fuck off. So Sam beats him shitless with the butter sock. And yeah, I can see why they switched from coins to butter. If that was the coin sock, that would have sent the man to the hospital. The writers continuously deny that they know anything about iCarly. They claim they've never heard of them before, which is hilarious because if you look closely, you can see their laptops are all open to iCarly.com, which is wild. The writers are sticking to their guns and not admitting that they steal their ideas from iCarly, when another team member comes in and loudly announces that he has the flash drive of the 2 latest iCarly episodes, and Sam then beats the writer with her butter sock once again. And I really love that they used the butter sock as soon as it was introduced. I like that it wasn't just a prop, but it actually added some dynamic movement to the scene. Fantastic. Carly and Sam then accuse the writers of stealing their ideas again, and the writers all break out into a fight over who gets credit for the idea of copying iCarly in the first place. Carly and Sam then scream at the top of their lungs to shut everyone up, and they tell the writers they need to stop stealing ideas from iCarly. They again claim that they're not stealing their ideas when Carly points out a corkboard that says otherwise.
Just because we do some things on Totally Terry that are similar to stuff you do on iCarly
Doesn't mean we're stealing.
Then how do you explain these cards on the wall under a sign that says ideas we can steal from iCarly?
Carly and Sam then threaten to sue all of the writers if they don't stop stealing their ideas, and the writers don't really seem bothered by the threat at all.
This is the Dingo channel.
So we have the lawyers, the money, and therefore the power to steal any ideas we want.
Just then, security comes in and escorts the ladies out, and the girls start to argue. And the writers have the audacity to start writing down Carly and Sam's real-life banter to use as content they can steal. Ridiculous. Also, Sam's about to hit the guy one more time with the butter sock before leaving, but he just does it himself and saves her the effort. And I think that's funny. And during all this, Spencer and Freddie are actually sneaking through the bowels of Dingo, and they somehow manage to trick the only security guard in the entire basement to not only leave his post, but also give them the keys to the cryogenic freezer that presumably contains Charles Dingo's head. Okay. Spencer and Freddie then open the freezer, and Spencer walks through the cryogenic smoke cloud into the cryogenic freezer with no protective gear. He runs out screaming, saying he saw the head of Charles Dingo in there, and Freddie doesn't believe him and walks into the cryogenic freezer unprotected as well, and confirms that the head is in fact in there. And I have to point out that walking through the smoke cloud from a cryogenic freezer would instantly burn your skin. Freddie and Spencer should be screaming in pain just from entering the freezer, let alone having their full body submerged in the negative 100 degrees Celsius temperatures required for a cryogenic freezer. Unacceptable. Back at the hotel, Freddie and Spencer are traumatized, but Carly and Sam are too busy freaking out about the writers to care. Carly and Freddie start shitting on the quality of the hotel.
They're just pillowcases filled with crumpled up old newspapers.
And this lamp doesn't even have a light bulb. Just a potato.
And listen up, that potato looks fresh and clean. No spuds, nothing. That implies to me that this hotel does in fact change out the potato bulb quite frequently, which is a hilarious implication. Carly then finds the hobo in their bathtub, chases him back outside, and has simply had enough. She just wants to go home at this point, but Freddie brings up Charles Dingo's head, and everyone seems to be on the same page. And just for good measure, the homeless man reaches through the window curtains to caress Carly's hair. And honestly, if you put different music on this scene, it could be positioned as a horror movie, I'm not gonna lie. Carly should have some trauma. The next morning, Carly and Sam somehow get back into the Totally Terry writer's room. Shouldn't they be blacklisted? Sam assaulted an employee literally just yesterday. Sam then pours a drink on their PS2 and destroys it. I guess that's why they had the PS2 controllers in the beginning of the episode? Did they just have an old PS2 laying around to destroy? What's going on here? Carly, Sam, and Freddie ask one more time for the writers to stop copying their ideas.
We told you, you can't stop us from doing whatever we want.
And since that didn't work, the gang calls Spencer into the room, who's holding what is revealed to be the head of Charles Dingo, which is actually modeled after Dirty Dan Schneider himself. Also, that thing is at least minimum negative 80 degrees Celsius. He is holding it with his bare hands. Spencer's hands should be falling off his body right now. Whatever. The gang tells the writers that they need to agree on camera to never copy iCarly again, or else they will show the entire world Charles Dingo's head and say the Totally Terry writers gave it to them. The writers finally fold, knowing that they will be fired if the story about the head gets out, and they agreed to never copy iCarly again. But they're not completely off the hook just yet. Back in Seattle, during an episode of iCarly, the two head Totally Terry writers are forced to have a bikini dog food fight as part of their agreement. And honestly, it's a cute callback to the joke at the beginning of the episode, but I was a little too distracted by the dope-ass iCarly riot shields in the background. I want that shit. It's fucking sick, bro. And honestly, the iCarly riot shields can definitely be seen as a metaphor. Carly and Sam are the embodiment of iCarly as a whole. The Dingo employees slinging dog food represent Disney slinging their bullshit, and the riot shields symbolize Nickelodeon executives blocking all the shit Disney tries to throw their way. Which I guess in that case, the entire scene is a metaphor, not just the riot shield, but whatever. Seriously though, if I had to pick a winner in this specific fight, I'd pick Nickelodeon over Disney any day. iCarly was a fresh concept when it first released. The idea of two best friends having a weekly web show, that was something that really hadn't been done by a big studio up until that point. Hell, iCarly first premiered less than a full year after Fred uploaded his first ever YouTube video. So Nickelodeon kind of had their finger on the pulse with this one, and Disney's response was less than stellar, releasing a dumpster fire of a show called Bizaardvark, which didn't release until 4 years after iCarly had already ended anyway. Disney was behind the curve when Nickelodeon was busy trailblazing, and honestly, I really wish studios would still beef like this today. Competition used to push these studios to create unique and new ideas to constantly one-up each other, but now it just seems like the only competition between studios is who can make the cheapest production with the least amount of people on payroll as possible, and that's honestly just upsetting. Even if you ignore all the drama between studios though, iTake On Dingo was a fast-paced, funny episode with a lot of variety from beginning to end, and it's definitely an episode of iCarly you should watch or rewatch whenever you get the chance, because this one is well worth your time. Jake Farrow is honestly a great writer, and I love that Dirty Dan was not credited as a writer for this episode in any way. But enough of me yapping. What do you guys think? Did this episode bring you back to a simpler time, or did you miss out on this one when you were a kid? Let me know down in the comments, and let's kick it. And if you stuck around this long, maybe subscribe and check out some other videos, eh? Why not? I might just go to the local zoo and release all the penguins if you do. And of course, I gotta give a massive, sloppy shout out to the channel members and Patreon members. This haiku is gonna make you weak in the knees. Get down on all fours, your hands and knees on the floor. I'll spank you till sore. I know I say it every time, but I cannot thank you guys enough for the support. It means the world to me. It's as simple as that. All right, thank you. If you're still here, I think you should check your tire pressure. I'm thinking the front left tire might be a little low. All right, thanks for listening.